And the next unit we'll be going over on our Axis and Allies 1940 2nd Edition tutorial series is the Cruiser. Cruisers are probably the least built unit in this game, aside from maybe AA guns, but it's probably pretty close. Cruisers cost 12 IPCs to build. They have a movement value of 2, and they attack and defend at 3s. So that's not the worst. That's not the worst things in the world. And they have one special ability, offshore bombardment, just like the battleship. It works exactly the same. Whenever you're landing troops, each cruiser can fire onto the defending ground forces. They get a 3 or less, they get a hit. The defenders will still get to fire back. If you're playing with the out-of-box rules, I don't like that. But that's it. Cruisers, you really don't get too much out of. I think they suffer the similar problem as a battleship, but even worse. Because sure, they hit harder than the other naval units, but it's not that much more. And the extra 50% cost you pay versus a destroyer, I don't think it's worth it. I don't mind starting the game with these. These are nice to have for free, but I wouldn't build them unless you're either playing with some kind of house rule that improves them. Like, some people like having these work like AA guns, which is neat. I feel like if these could sustain damage, they'd be pretty neat. Or, I don't know, I'm sure you could find some other way to improve the cruiser a little bit and give it some more purpose, but it just sits in a weird middle ground that makes them very niche, not super useful. As for the powers that like cruisers, not really anybody. Nobody really wants to go out of their way to build a cruiser. Either you're going to build a bunch of submarines and destroyers, or you're going to save the money for battleships or carriers. But out of everyone on here, Italy, I think, could make good use of cruisers because they're usually too poor to afford battleships. But then again, is it really that hard to save up a little bit more? It's only 8 IPCs more to build a battleship. And it's even cheaper to just build 2 subs. The UK starts out with tons of cruisers on the board. I think it's like 4 or 5. So you're going to have a bunch to start. I probably wouldn't build any, but they're around. The United States, they have a few. Again, I wouldn't build any more. Germany, I guess I could see an argument for, depending on how much math you want to do. Maybe if you're doing a very specific version of Sea Lion, you can't afford to splurge for a carrier or a battleship, and you have to build a cruiser. Sure. I wouldn't know what that math is, because I don't really do Sea Lion, but if your strategy's uber specific like that, sure, go for it. The Soviet Union, don't build ships with them. China can't build ships. France is irrelevant. Australia is in a similar vein of Italy. I could see them building a cruiser or two, but I would rather build air units or ground units as Australia instead of ships. I leave most of the naval combat to the United States in the Pacific. In Japan, they're in a similar situation to Italy. Sure, they're not as poor, but they're being pulled in so many different directions that you could probably make a case for Japan going down cruisers. It wouldn't be my first choice, and it wouldn't be the most obvious choice, but they could be useful as Japan. I could see it. But ultimately, I think cruisers are just too expensive for what you get. The two cheaper naval combat units, I think, are just better in pretty much every way. They're more cost effective. So yeah, that's the cruiser.